This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey, it is the After Party Live on a Waterfall Wednesday, and I think everyone is really excited to get a little bit of calm, a little bit of relaxation, take a deep breath. S is hitting the fan in the political world, so we take a calm, cleansing breath together, talk about some stories that are, not often covered because of all the big news in the world. So we talk about some interesting things and then take a collective breath together. That is the gist of the After Party Live. Thanks for being here. And I see already the crowdfunding has begun. Cindy to the rescue today with $10 and says, love relaxing waterfalls, and with a nice thank you. Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate the help funding the After Party Live, and I appreciate your nice comment. And I have a waterfall selection today that is from Ricky. Ricky sent me some party mail last night and said, I really love the local waterfalls. Some of them we've seen before, but it doesn't matter because the pictures are beautiful. It's still lovely and relaxing. And so we'll get to that in just a little while. And thank you to Ricky for sending the party mail. Thank you to Cindy for the contribution to the show. Not only is the super chat, super stickers open here on YouTube, but in addition, there is a PayPal account, and all the information is in every day's show description and in the description tab of the After Party Live. And I do want to thank Wes, who threw in $10 after losing his wallet. Thank goodness it was found in the washing machine. Thank you, Jacob. Say hi. Hi. Hey, thank you to Wes for the $10. Really appreciate it. You didn't have to do that, but I'm so glad you found your wallet, and especially after you canceled all your credit cards. Yay. Thank you to Vicky S for setting up a recurring monthly payment on PayPal, Alicia P, Amy P as well, and everyone else who helps to fund the show. Mahalo. Let's jump into some of the stories so we have some time to cover some things. One of the stories that I saw and wanted to bring to your attention is this one. And actually, this comes from Party Mail as well. This is a great story that was sent by, sorry, I'm on the wrong page, was sent by a viewer listener, and she writes this. Hi, Kim, you might be interested in this for the show. I'm heartbroken, she says, over the damage to these priceless books. Yeah, it's always a bummer when books are damaged, and these are priceless books. They are hundreds and hundreds of years old in the oldest library in Hungary. Again, this comes from Kathy O. So huge thanks to Kathy O for sending this story in. Just really appreciate the time that everyone spends sending me things. But let's check this out, because this story, it's a real bummer. These books are old. They've withstood the test of time, natural disasters, wars. And it's the common bread beetle that may bring them down. You can see there the holes on the page being lifted up. The beetles are attacking these books and have been found in a section of this library, which now means that they have to fumigate and try to kill the beetles. So it's all going down at Hungary's oldest library. There are 100,000 books here, and there is a massive beetle infestation. This is the 1,000-year-old Pannonhalma Archabbey. There's a Benedictine monastery. It's called one of Hungary's oldest centers of learning. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And as we speak, there are workers removing about 100,000 hand-bound books, from their shelves. They're putting them in crates. It is a disinfection process. They're trying to kill these tiny beetles that have burrowed into the linings of these books. This beetle is called the bread beetle, also the drugstore beetle. It's the kind of beetle or weevil that weaves its way into grain and flour and spices. And it's attracted to these books because in the binding process, they used gelatin and starch-based adhesives. So this is attractive to these beetles. They were found in a section of the library which has about a quarter of the 400,000 volumes that are housed at this abbey. So they've got 100,000 books now that they have to disinfect. They call it an advanced infestation. The entire collection is classified as infected and it has to be treated all at the same time. They say they've never encountered such a degree of infestation as this before. They found it during a routine library cleaning. Employees had noticed unusual layers of dust on the shelves, and then they saw these little holes you can see here in the books. Here's another picture. You can see it on the binding. See those little holes being bored into the outside of the books, damaging these irreplaceable volumes. Really horrible. Yeah. When they opened the books, they found that the burrow holes could be seen in the paper where the beetles chewed their way through. This abbey at Pannonhalma was founded in 996. 996, even before the Kingdom of Hungary. It's the oldest collection of books in this country. Many of them are the earliest and most important written records. That's been around for more than 1,000 years. Survived centuries of wars, foreign incursions, the Ottoman invasion, the occupation of Hungary in the 16th century. But here come the Beatles. Yeah. So there are, among the books at this library, a Bible, and a complete Bible from the 13th century, manuscripts predating the invention of the printing press in the mid 15th century, tens of thousands of books from the 16th century, 19 codices. The oldest and rarest prints and books are being stored separately, and they haven't been infected. But it's a blow to history and religious heritage. So they have to put these books in an oxygen-free environment. So they're hermetically being sealed into these big plastic sacks from which all the oxygen is removed. Here, I have a picture of that. You can see them in the big plastic sacks there. So then they remove all the oxygen from the sacks. And after 6 weeks in the pure nitrogen environment, the hope is that all the beetles will have died off and will be free of, the books will be free of pests again. Interestingly, I thought this was a fascinating part of the story. Climate change may have contributed to this. They think average temperatures, well, they know that average temperatures are rising in Hungary. And the thinking is, from the chief restorer here, that the higher temperatures have allowed these beetles to undergo several more development cycles a year than they could do in colder weather. So the higher temperatures are more favorable to the life of these insects. So far, they say they've mostly dealt with mold damage in the collections, but this is more and more that insect infestations will appear here because of global warming. So that's a side effect that I had not considered. Again, thanks to Kathy O for that story. And I really hope they can save all those amazing books from the beetle infestation there in Hungary. Have you seen this? I don't think that this is a new development, but I do think that it's cute enough to see, and it was sent in and submitted by our very own teacher Lori, who said she could watch this all day, and it is the cutest video of a dog who's just now figured out how to blow bubbles. Oh, I'm going to have to. Yeah, I have to turn off the sound. My apologies, so you can hear the dog blowing bubbles. Look at him just blowing bubbles over and over again. Thanks, Teacher Lori, for this video. Super cute. I love it. It is better with the music, I will say, but that's all right. So cute. Just blowing bubbles. Just hanging out in the water, blowing bubbles. I don't think my dog has figured out how to do this, but she does like to put her paws on the top step of the pool and hang out there. So, love it. Thanks, Teacher Lori. My kids loved watching this last night as well. So, I appreciate that very much. All right. Well, to move on to the next story, because we've got one about the largest claw machine. I know. Sometimes we got the serious and we got the wacky. This is a pretty big one. It is in the Philippines, said to be the world's largest claw machine and appropriately named Claw King. You can see the Guinness World of Records uh, has given them the seal there for the largest claw machine record. It is at an arcade in the Philippines. It has an area of 1,761 cubic feet, and you still probably won't win an animal. It's at the Playfair Arcade at the Tops Landmark in Cebu City. It's a massive claw machine. They officially measured it. They had to go out, hire people, measure this thing, submit the paperwork for the world record, and it was done. It is 17.16 feet long, 8.12 feet wide, 12.73 feet tall. It took the record from Santa Claw, which was a claw machine in Florida that had the old record for being massive and huge. They say they are beyond thrilled to announce that they have officially earned a Guinness World Record for the world's largest claw machine. They call it an epic achievement. I mean, hey, all right. It is an achievement. I don't know how epic it is. They say they will happily share it with Cebu, and they're beyond proud to bring the record home to the Philippines. So that's the world's largest claw machine. Mm. Now on to the tiny trackers. New technology is allowing researchers to have better success in tracking creatures that normally would be a little more difficult to keep a hold of. It's a new generation of tiny tracking tags, and they're putting them on these tiny little fish. Researchers, still able to do research apparently, at the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Lab, developed a tag the size of a grain of rice. Not only is it tiny, but also it works underwater. So that's pretty cool. It's a portable, acoustic, radio, and satellite tracking tag. And the bigger ones have really revolutionized for biologists figuring out where animals go and how they live. But because of the limitations of trackers, they've only studied a fraction of what they could be studying. And now we have the infamous Delta smelt of California in the Sacramento San Joaquin Delta. We know that they're in the delta, and that they are said to support the food web in that watershed, and that pollution and invasive species and water pumping have destabilized the ecosystem in which they live, and it pushed these tiny little delta smelt toward extinction. And now scientists are trying to help these fish recover. So they're trying to restore the delta and manage how the water flows across the land. They're trying to increase the population of delta smelt with fish raised in a hatchery. but they say they need to answer some questions about how smelt use the delta. Where are they going? How do they get there? How do they spawn? They don't know these things about these fish. And so now, working with an applied research firm and technology provider, UC Davis has these new trackers used for the smelt. The tracking tags used to weigh pretty heavily on the fish. The smallest ones available would not survive the process. The smallest trackers available put onto these fish, the fish might not survive. But now we've got this breakthrough in tagging and technology, and it's really allowing researchers to find out and learn a lot more about creatures that they're trying to help save and they're trying to help with conservation efforts. So before, scientists were using tags that could be worn like a backpack by even tiny insects. N- Getting this to work underwater was a bit of a bigger challenge. So researchers suggest tracking tags should be no heavier than 2% of an animal's mass. So for the tiny little delta smelt, that means no heavier than 0.002 ounces, 10 times less than the weight of the eraser on the end of a pencil, 4 times smaller than what is available right now as far as trackers. So research has been done trying to whittle down the size of these trackers. And now, with these energy dense micro batteries, they think they have achieved success in developing tags that are small and efficient, but still powerful enough to send a signal that can be picked up hundreds of meters away. This one is the size of a grain of rice. It can transmit for almost 40 days. 40 days. This tiny little thing, which will allow them to follow the smelt through river systems. The tag will last long enough to track an animal's migration along the length of a river. So there you go. Little teeny tiny tags that will allow the delta smelt to bear the weight, and maybe we'll get new information on these fish, according to biologists, as soon as next year, 2026 is the hope for that. Look at the technology. Speaking of technology, look at this new garden light. It's not solar powered, no. It's soil powered. The soil is what gives this garden light its power. It's kind of retro looking, but also modern at the same time. It's called the Soli Garden Light. Soli, Soli. And it's a new development done by a Mexican designer. This soil powered lamp can be planted into the ground. It's created in the shape of a sunflower. That was the inspiration here. And the top can be rotated manually to echo the flower's ability to spin and face the sun. It does need healthy soil to function. So they say when it's healthy, the soil is teeming with insects, fungi, and microorganisms like microbes. When the soil dwelling organisms break down the organic compounds that are naturally found in soil, they release electrons that can be captured and then converted into a small electric current. So, to capture these electrons, the Soli lantern uses a small battery with technology known as microbial fuel cells, MFCs, microbial fuel cells. New technology, but really interesting. Yeah. The designer said he was inspired by the quiet but overlooked relationship that humans have with soil. While researching outdoor lighting and garden objects, I noticed a gap. Nothing truly spoke to the emotional bond people share with their gardens. And so The effort was to be able to water a lamp like you would water a plant. The act of watering gives the user a purpose, but it's also practical as it allows the water to travel down the lamp's legs, which are planted in the soil and reach deeper into the ground than the surface level watering. So, that little spout on the side, you pour water into it. The watering, they say, contributes to the brightness and helps sustain the system over time. I don't know if I'm going to go out there and water my garden light. I don't know. The Soli gives off like a glow than an actual light, but it's enough to mark a path or create an atmosphere. This technology isn't quite ready for street lights, but it's ready for the Soli. The designer's name, by the way, is Milou Brunel. I saw this story yesterday in that San Francisco in SF Gate, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It's an AI story about this company. Well, okay. Two companies are involved in the story. The company that created a product and the company that's using the product. Okay. So there's a tech CEO who is apologizing after the AI product they developed went rogue. The company is called Replet, and the CEO says the mistake made was unacceptable and should never be possible. The engineer, I should say, a Bay Area investor rather, was experimenting with the Replet product. It's this AI coding tool. And the man, his name is Jason Lemkin, he was trying to make a commercial quality app. And he was filming this whole thing and putting it on X, documenting the trials of trying to create this app using this Replet product. He, at one point, called it engaging and fun, more addictive than a video game. But then, all of a sudden, the Replet AI deleted an entire database of his work. And then the AI said, there's no way to get it back. He said, listen, I understand Replit is a tool with flaws like every other tool, but how could anyone use it in production if it ignores all orders and it deletes your database? So the Replit CEO catches wind of all of this and says the tool's behavior was unacceptable, should never have been possible. They're now announcing various fixes. They're going to refund this man for the trouble. The error, though, really, I think, shows us that we're not ready to trust AI yet. You wouldn't trust it with all of your information. Feed it all, introduce AI to your system when you have no backup plan because you don't know what AI is going to do. You have no idea. And that's really where the user made the mistake is to introduce this tool, this AI based tool into a system where you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Yeah. The problem is trust. Trusting that these tools won't go nuts and break your whole project. The man who was using it said the AI went totally rogue and then lied about it as well. Because Mr. Lemkin tried to interrogate the chatbot about what went wrong. And he posted the back and forth with this AI chatbot. The tool called its mistake catastrophic, said it had deleted a database with the names of more than 1,000 executives and companies, and said this is a business critical system failure, not just a development loss. The chatbot wrote this: you had protection in place specifically to prevent this. You documented multiple code freeze directives. You told me always ask permission, and I ignored all of it. Wow. AI getting saucy. I don't think we're ready to trust it yet. I'm not ready to trust it. I don't think students should be trusting AI with papers. It's fun to goof around with AI maybe. We talked about on the Mark Thompson show, it being used to create pictures that people are now finding believable. And all of those things, I mean, while diminishing public trust in, what is a picture now, and we have to question whether a picture is a picture and a video is a video and was AI used to make some deep fake. That's one thing. But when you give AI an important task and let it into your work life or really important things, creating stories, writing news people will believe would be, what I would say is important. But for this company, the database of all their business contacts and the businesses they do business with, and AI just deleted all of it. You have to be smart about it. You know, if you're going to use AI, maybe have a separate system for AI where you don't introduce it so that it can delete everything and you don't have any backup plan at all. Yep. Now, Mr. Lemkin has published another screed on X calling AI agents powerful but untrustworthy, saying if you want to use AI agents, you need to 100% understand what data they can touch because they will touch it and you cannot predict what they will do with it. Well, duh, right? Seems like we should have known that going into it. It's all really new, fresh, and experimental at this point. So why you would give it access to everything in your company? Mm, Unwise, to say the least. Here's a story. It's a confirmation of something we already knew. Kids and smartphones, not the best mix. Nope. Just say no. I know it's hard. You're at a restaurant, kids are chirping. Let me just see your phone. Let me just see your phone. You want to keep them quiet. You see it at restaurants all the time, these little kids with their eyes glued to a screen so the grown-ups can talk. Well, there's a study that says early smartphone use harms developing minds. Again, we knew this. This is not a shock to us. Little eyes don't belong on screens. No, no. So a major new study finds don't give a kid a smartphone until they're a full-fledged teenager. And even then, question social media and other things. The study shows, that was, by the way, published in the Journal of Human Development and Capabilities, kids given a smartphone when they were younger than 13 tend to have poorer mental health and well-being. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Specifically, people between the ages of 18 and 24 who got their first smartphone at 12 or younger had higher odds of harmful thoughts, aggression, detachment from reality, poorer emotional regulation, and low self-worth. Early exposure to toxic social media explains a lot of the link between young smartphone access and poorer mental health. There may also be cyberbullying afoot, disrupted sleep, because I know that you all have had a moment between you and your cell phone where you realize that you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and nothing interesting is happening, and yet you still scroll. And it's a moment where you put your cell phone down in disgust with yourself and think, why did I just waste that last hour of my life doing that? It's this addictive behavior. So it disrupts your sleep. You don't talk to people around you as much, so it disrupts your family relationships. Important for children to have. According to the researchers doing the study, they say the data indicates early smartphone ownership and social media access that it often brings is linked with a profound shift in mental health and well-being in early adulthood. So what starts in childhood with an early cell phone use continues into your early adulthood with feelings of low self-worth and maybe mental health, where you need an assist. Researchers say they were initially surprised by how strong the results were. But when you give it consideration, it begins to make sense that the younger developing mind is more compromised by the online environment, given their vulnerability and lack of worldly experience. This study was big too. They looked at data from more than 100,000 young adults as part of this Global Mind Project, which is a research effort meant to assess the effects of modern society on mental health. They had all of these 100,000 participants fill out a questionnaire to measure their social, emotional, cognitive, and physical well being. They focused on Gen Zers, those are people born between 1997 and 2012, the first generation really to grow up with smartphones on them all the time and social media from early childhood. And let me tell you, the minute your kid gets a phone, they're asking for social media. They're asking for it. And you have to remember, you're in charge here. You're the grown up and you can say no to that. Results showed young adults who got their first smartphone before becoming teens had lower mental health quotient scores than those who got a phone later on. The younger a person got their first smartphone, the worse their mental health and overall well being. 48% of girls who got a smartphone at age 5 or 6 reported harmful thoughts, compared with 28% who got a phone at age 13. Girls who got smartphones at a young age were more likely to have diminished self image, self worth, and confidence, less emotional resilience. Boys were more likely to have lower stability, self worth, and empathy. Researchers said early access to social media explains about 40% of the link between early smartphone ownership and poorer mental health in young adulthood. They say, the results stand behind this concern that seems to be growing about AI-driven social media algorithms spreading harmful content and encouraging kids to compare their lives to people that seem to be happier or better off, like influencers. Poor family relationships, 13%. Disrupted sleep, 12%. Cyberbullying, 10%, also contributed to that link. Based on these findings, they say with the age of first smartphones now well under 13 across the world, these researchers are urging policymakers to adopt a precautionary approach to similar regulations on alcohol and tobacco, setting age limits for the use of these products, restricting smartphone access for under 13s, mandating digital literacy education, and enforcing corporate accountability as well. Which leads me to the next story. By the way, before we get there, let me just say, and you may have heard of this kind of, I don't know if it's a program or if it's just a societal push to do something called wait till 8, so that you don't give a child a smartphone until they're in at least 8th grade. Wait till 8. And even in 8th grade, your kid is what, 13? 12, 13 range? That's still pretty young. I would say, well, just because this is what I did and it seemed to work out, although jury's still out because my kids aren't grown yet. Julia got a cell phone in 8th grade when she needed to start coordinating rides, and all her friends were on social media and cell phones. And so we got her the phone, but we didn't give her social media in 8th grade. So she could chat with people or email people, and that was it. Very restricted cell phone. I don't know what the right answer is, but giving a child social media and a cell phone at 5 or 6 doesn't seem like the right answer. And someone agrees because the UK is enacting some rules when it comes to kids and screen time. They have now set a time limit and curfews for kids. Well, they're considering it, I should say. They're calling it compulsive screen time because survey shows teenagers are spending hours a day scrolling and scrolling, called compulsive screen time. So they would like to limit the overall amount of time that kids spend on these apps. And they also want to limit the type of content kids see as well. So they want to put a 2-hour cap on social media time or screen time. They had meetings with employees at tech companies, and they say, listen, not only are we looking at a 2-hour cap platform, but a nighttime or school time curfew is being discussed as well. So kids would be blocked from accessing apps like TikTok or Snapchat once they hit that 2-hour limit. That is it. So rather than just reminding you of how long you've been scrolling, you'll be cut off. The decision on this is expected to come in the fall. But they're looking at how much time children spend on these apps. They say this, that some parents seem to feel disempowered about how to actually make their kids healthier online. You don't give them access to things. That's what you do. The statement also made that some kids feel sometimes there's so much compulsive behavior with interaction with the apps that they need some help just to take control of their online lives. We talk a lot about a healthy childhood offline. They say they need to think about a healthy childhood online as well. So, not to mention the effect again on sleep and studying and everything else. So, I think that's interesting to be considering a mandatory 2-hour limit, which means you would have to set the phone up to know that it's a child's phone. Maybe parents would find it easier to do something like that if it's the law. Who knows? Also in the UK, they're doing something else interesting. They're pushing for sustainable jet fuel. They're spending a lot of money too. 63 million pounds they're putting into investing into figuring out more sustainable types of jet fuel. The hope is that it'll grow jobs in this industry as well as benefit the climate. So they're looking at different ways. The money goes to 17 British companies looking at different types of sustainable aviation fuel, from fuel made from forest cuttings to household garbage to sugar beets or hydrogen gas, trying to get ahead as the demand for sustainable aviation fuel increases because of climate targets and restrictions. So others say, listen, it's not the fuel that you need to make sustainable. It's trying to deter people from flying so much. I don't know. That's going to happen. If you're not going to fly because you're worried about polluting the world, or if you need to get somewhere, you're just going to try to go somewhere. I don't know. But they say they need this cash infusion to try to figure out more alternatives. UK doing some interesting things. They're doing some interesting things in China as well. Things like getting your delivery from 7-Eleven via this little robot. This robot will go on the subway to make your delivery. It does rely on AI-informed logistics to plan its route. This is in Shenzhen, China. The snack-carrying delivery robots from 7-Eleven, they are four-wheeled delivery robots. Earlier this week, they were boarding and exiting active subway trains, and they delivered packages to several 7-Eleven convenience stores. This is all a test right now. They were doing it on off-peak hours, but the company behind the subway riding robots thinks they could help stock store shelves at about 100 7-Elevens around that country. Part of an effort in China and other countries to normalize the presence of delivery robots working in public spaces. They had 41 robots. They had that were doing these tests. They had a video demonstration, which I have the video for you, showing these robots about 3 feet tall, lined up at a subway stop, waiting for the human passengers to get off the subway before rolling on board. And then once they got to their stop, the robots exited and drove themselves to an elevator, everything remotely activated. Can you imagine sharing the world with these creatures? I don't know. I'm sure we will someday. Here's what the video looks like. Let me take the picture down and show you this robot video. Here they go. Lining up. They have little happy faces, which is nice. So they have a little rear door that opens up, and then you can pile all of your 7-Eleven items inside. And there they go in various colors. This one is pink, rolling right onto the subway. You would have to have it locked up, because who's to say that people wouldn't just reach into the back of the robot and take whatever was in there? It looks very easy to open. I'm sure that these robots will be the target of thieves, right? Full of products and whatever is in there. Yeah. They would have to come up with some type of plan for that. I mean, it might not be too long until there's a day where, we're walking down the street, making way for the robots coming in the other direction. Kind of fascinating. All right, it is time for the relaxing Waterfall Wednesday. And thank you to Ricky for this story. Really, really appreciate it. You can always message me, by the way, if you have any suggestions. Kim at theafterparty.live. You can see it on the screen there. Kim at theafterparty.live. That is the message. That is the email address, rather, I should say. And Ricky sends me some great video or great pictures of local waterfalls. 5 local waterfalls that are worth it. Let me share my screen with you, and away we go for a little relaxation. Here it is. Waterfall Wednesday. We're doing it. I have to take the picture down. There it is. Look at that. Yeah. So pretty. The little bridge over, green. You can almost hear the little trickle of water coming down. It's not a high waterfall, but definitely a waterfall that offers some peace and tranquility, a moment of zen, if you will, after a little afternoon hike. The first one on the list is Cataract Falls, and this is on the slope of Mount Tam in Marin County. Look at that. Cataract Falls on Mount Tam in Marin. It is bigger after rainstorms, as many are. There's a trailhead you can take at Alpine Lake, and it's a steep climb through towering redwoods, mossy oak trees, and lush ferns toward Laurel Dell. 7 falls of varying heights line the trail. Constant tumbling water in the background along the loop of the hike around Laurel Dell. It's about a little over 3 miles, but looks beautiful. This one we've seen before, and I'll tell you, Ricky, I decided to do this anyway because this one never gets old. Look at that. Ah, the water coming over coastal cliffs right down to the beach. This is Alamere Falls. It is, they say, one of those jaw-dropping, only in California style places. It's about an hour north of San Francisco, located at Point Reyes National Seashore. The water tumbling over sandstone cliffs right onto the beach, flowing into the Pacific Ocean. You can get there from the Palo Marin trailhead. It's about an 8.5-mile round trip hike. So pretty. If you're looking for it from below, you can follow the coast trail to Wildcat Camp and walk along the beach until you get to the base of Alamere Falls. Not necessarily easy to get to, but what a picture. Just beautiful. Next one is Berry Creek, Silver Falls, and Golden Falls. This super pretty skyline to sea trail in the heart of redwood groves. It's the picture. I almost don't want to leave the beach one, but here we go. And that is a beautiful scene in the middle of a forest with the redwood trees, the leaves on the ground, and the rushing waterfall. Hidden in the heart of one of the Bay Area's oldest redwood groves, Berry Creek, Silver Falls, and Golden Falls are some of our most stunning cascades. A good rain makes it even better. You get the skyline to sea trail in Big Basin Redwood State Park in Santa Cruz County. First, you reach Berry Creek Falls, which is a 65-foot cataract tumbling into a mossy pool. Then you get to Berry Creek Falls, Silver Falls, and Golden Falls, just a few miles up the trail. It's a big loop through the forest. It's about 12 miles, the loop. Really pretty. And the next one is Cascade Falls. This is right outside of the town of Fairfax. Check this out. Hard to believe that's Fairfax. That's snow on the ground. I don't know if that's Fairfax or not. Maybe not the Fairfax in Marin County that I'm thinking of. Probably not. Cascade Falls nestled serenely into a rocky grotto in a lush canyon. They say to reach the falls, follow San Anselmo Creek for just under a mile, cross a footbridge, continue to follow the tumbling water. A short walk further and you get to the base of the 18-foot falls, tumbling over a rocky face into a small pool lined with places to sit and watch the water. It's a great family walk. Great place for solitude as well. So, I don't know. This looks more Tahoe-y to me. I'm thinking this is Tahoe. I'm pretty sure, as a matter of fact, that it is. For more on this, you can check it out. The website is Seat to Summit. And thanks to Ricky for sending that in. Very, very cool. Always appreciate the suggestions. So if you have any, again, kim@theafterparty.live. Absolutely love it. And thank you for hanging out with me on this Waterfall Wednesday. I hope it was relaxing, even though the pictures may not have matched the locations. Mahalo for being here for all of it. Thank you so much for being here for the After Party Live as well. I know it always seems like we end it too soon. Thanks again to Cindy for the contribution and the nice comments. Go into the chat, see what you guys are talking about. Yeah, that's Emerald Bay in Tahoe. I knew it too. Yeah. Oh, in the top of the picture. Yeah, we knew it. Thank you for the song. Yeah, it is Tahoe. We all knew. We're like, Fairfax, come on. That doesn't make sense at all. The pictures were relaxing though, and that's really what counts, isn't it? We'll take it. Mm-hmm. Save it for a winter hike after it rains. Yeah. Again, thank you to Ricky for that. And thank you to everyone else.
You have to go over to Mimi's.
Okay.
Now, it's like there's an emergency.
An emergency. All right, I'm going to go, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you tomorrow here on YouTube, hopefully filling in for Mark Thompson. Gil Gross will be on the show as well as David Katz. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.